Okay, next thing we'll do is we're going to mount the motor. First thing we need to do is put the pinion on the motor. I've got these screws here ready to go. These are actually going to come off, and I've soldered the leads on there. These are 5.5 mil connectors. And so when you put the pinion on, make sure that you use Loctite. And there should be a flat spot on here. If you haven't, your shaft doesn't have one, you have to grind that on there. And if you do have to grind it, take a plastic bag, put the whole motor in a plastic bag, and poke the shaft through, and that way you won't get any filings onto the magnets. A couple other things that you'll need to do. Once you've got once you've got the pinion on here, this pinion is this motor came with a 5 millimeter shaft, and the pinion that came with the kit was a 6 millimeter. So I had to purchase a separate pinion. It's because of the motor choice. So just something to keep in mind if you are getting this particular motor, which is a Turnigy Typhoon 600 1100 kV motor, that you will have to get a new pinion for it. And if you're looking for a motor, that might be a point for you to have, is to get something with a 6 mil. Okay, so we've got to mount this motor in here. A couple things to think of is which way do the wires come out, and how am I going to put this in here, and how are the holes going to line up. So I think I'm going to try and put these wires to come out this way. So slide it through, and now I've got to start thinking about putting those bolts in. Now the bolts are going to need some Loctite, so we'll do that at this time. Okay, I've got the bolts in now. There's Loctite on them. I haven't tightened them down because we've got to do is set the gear mesh. And essentially, with these bolts loose, we can slide the motor back and forth until we get a good mesh. And what we're looking for to see is that there's no pressure pushing between the pinion and the main gear. They shouldn't be pushing against each other. There's got to be enough space at all times, about enough to have a piece of paper slide through. And I just like to kind of visually do that. And once it's set, then we can tighten these bad boys down. To watch, then when you tighten them down, it doesn't change the gap between the two, because sometimes it'll do that. It'll shift the position of the motor. So just be careful as he goes through. And it should be very free to move, and you should be able to see air in there all the time. Otherwise, you're going to rob yourself of power, and you're going to wear the main gear down prematurely and may cause yourself a premature auto rotation. So that's the motor installed. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to install some linkages and the anti-rotation bracket. So first off, I'm going to show you one of the linkages that came with it and of the model in the kit, and it came broken. So I'm not going to use the main linkages. I had to get some aligned ones to replace anyway, so I made up the linkages for that, and I'm just going to replace all of the servo linkages around to the servos. Just make sure you got the A on the outside, and remember that when you make it up, you have to be an A crossing on the fronts, because you've got the servo ball on the inside of the servo horn over here. Okay, once the linkages are all on, all we're going to do is install our anti-rotation bracket here. And this fits right in the back. It also gives a mount for the gyro. I've got it here. I might move it up here just to make things a little standard. And the canopy mounts go there, and there's a couple of screws that'll hold it in the back. And make sure you use Loctite on those parts. Okay, we're starting to get to the final stages here. A few more things to do. I'm going to install the battery tray. This is a good time to install your gyro if you haven't put it on there. And what else? Your speed controller, that sort of thing. One quick point I've got about this: there's the model is designed with a little tray, but because the carbon fiber is a little bit thinner, the tray doesn't even fit. So if you want to use the tray, it's really loose. You'll have to get an aligned one. Use the the cutouts that were designed for the thicker size. So I'm probably just going to pull out this tray out and not use it. But that would have been a good spot to put a receiver. I suppose I could put a receiver here, but doing that's going to cause some vibration. So I'll just put it on the bottom tray or on the side or something like that. Okay, so I've got now the tail servo all set up. What I had to do was put the ball link on 13 millimeters from the center. This was a star, had 4 arms. I found which arm worked the best for centering. Centered it using a little device like this, and put the ball link on, and then put it in place. So this is all ready to go, and now we're just going to mount it in the fuselage. And as you can see, it's a metal part, so we're going to use Loctite to mount it in. Okay, next thing in the tail, we're going to mount the tail push rod. So what I'm going to do, we'll take off one of the end ball links on the end, and we're just going to slide it through these guides. Now I'll push this back on. And what we need to do is put the ball link on and measure it so that we get about 8 degrees or so, I'd say for sure less than 10, of positive pitch on the tail rotor. So we can get a certain amount done, make sure that things are on, and then we can just clip it on. Make sure we've got the right side out. These ones don't have a right side. Pop it on, and then we'll measure the back and get it all set up. Okay, now what I've done is I've hooked this up so that we've got a good connection here, and we're through these 2 spots, and we get about 10 degrees of positive pitch or less. And we'll just show you what that sort of looks like. So as you can see, the tail rotor is going to be turning this way as it flies. So you're going to want to have a little bit of positive pitch to blow the air that away. So with it neutral, I get a little bit of, you can see the angle between this and the tail boom. It's very slight, but it's there. And this will help make the stops from your turns left and right equal when you're setting up your gyro. Okay, next thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to repair this crappy canopy. And as we showed before, mine came with a bunch of cracks, one right there, cracks right there, and it's really not that strong, and these are, you know, places where it's going to attach to the fuselage. So what I'm going to do is just, I'm going to reinforce it with some fiberglass. So as you can see, I've got some fiberglass cloth here, and I'm going to use some CA to do it in place. I've got some kicker here in case I need it, just depends how quick it's going to set. And then a plastic spoon here. The reason I've got this is so I don't have to use my finger and get my finger stuck to things. So you'll see it, just use it as a sort of a spreader. So let's get started. I've got 4 pieces here, 2 little short ones, and one really long one, and sort of a medium one here. What I'm going to do is just lay the fiberglass cloth inside. Just get it into position here. Don't want to cover up the windscreen, but there can be an overlap over on this side here. Can you see that? Yes. So just lay it down. In fact, you don't even have to lay it all down, but just get it sort of in a position where you can at least get it started. Then, let's try and drop a little bit of glue in there. Okay, so using my little spoon here, I can help position this in place. And what I'll do is just take a little bit of glue and drop it. So just getting on top there, a fair amount. Don't want it to drip onto the windscreen part of it. And then just kind of flatten it out. Be a fair amount of glue, and I'm using a odorless CA because I find that really will help. Like really stinky stuff. A little bit extra there. Just get it back. Let it set for a minute. Let's put this stuff a little bit more. Make sure I get all covered. No to the end. I'm using CA, but you can actually use whatever you want, really. You could best use epoxy or whatever, but the CA I like is for this type of work because it's really easy. It's going to float around. So just take the spoon and spread it where you want it to go. Not going quick enough. So the tiniest little bit of kicker. See a bit of smoke coming off of there, and feel the heat. There we go. And what that does is it just reinforces the top. I can feel it stronger already right now. It has some strength to the form, and the cracks are all repaired. As you can see, there's no indication that anything has been done here. So what we'll do afterwards, we'll trim all that off. We can do that with sandpaper or some sharp knife. I'm going to put the long piece in this spot here, so I've got lots of strength here. And then the two short pieces I'll put here to strengthen that. Okay, here it is. I've done this as the top part here. I've reinforced where the grommets are going to go, and also the bottom. And everything is strong now. There's no, I can give it a good wiggle and nothing is coming apart. So those are the real weak spots there, and they should stay strong enough. Just make sure you have overlap here, because you're going to cut it off, but you want that overlap because that's where it's going to, there's going to be some touching with the canopy there. So this is a real good spot to have nice edge there. I wasn't as concerned up here, and you can see I've kind of mucked it up. Doesn't matter, this is just for structural. And here, again, just all the way around so that the grommets are better supported. I know it's still not the world's best canopy, however, it's a good beater canopy to have, and maybe one to put on the helicopter for the first few flights while you're getting things sorted out, so that if things do go bad, you're not smoking in your more expensive aftermarket canopy. But anyways, just something to get the canopy working for, and instead of just turning it into a throwaway. And so there you have it. This is all finished up. You can see the fiberglass work that I've done here. You can, as I mentioned, you can do this with finishing resin or epoxy. I just chose to use the CA for the sake of doing it quickly. Add a couple stickers here to make it look as ugly as you want, and a perfectly functional canopy. Okay, one last thing on the canopy. It comes with a bracket to mount it on the frame, which is nice. So what you have to do is there's two little spots here. I've already drilled the holes, but it's pretty obvious. Drill the holes here, and then you can slide this on and drill them, screw them in. There are screws that you are self-tapping. Use those, and just put it in, and it will work to clip your canopy on. And that's essentially it for the build. A few things left to do. I've got to adjust the linkage lengths to make sure I get to 0 all around. It looks like I'm going to have to do some changes there. Tie some wires down, get the proper receiver going on, and essentially set up the gyro. And after that, it's all ready to fly. I've installed the, as you can see, the Coptex gyro on this side, and I've got the speed controller over here, and the canopy looks really ugly, but it's there and functional. Yeah, it's good to go. And this was the build of the Hobby King HK550TT FBL, and this is available from Hobby King. Let's see how it flies. Thanks for watching.